This page is the front cover of issue 36 of 64 magazine. It's packed with features, the big headline being the exclusive first look at Banjo-Tooie, Rare's highly anticipated follow-up. Other games highlighted include Toy Story 2, Castlevania 2 Nuclear Strike, and a full review of Vigilante 8-2 ND Offense. There's also a complete solution for Resident Evil 2 inside, and mentions of EPGA Golf, TGR2, and Blues Brothers. Plus, you get a free solution for A Bug's Life. The artwork prominently features Banjo and Kazooie, a scene from Toy Story 2, and a character resembling one from Resident Evil. This page is an advert proclaiming the release of the classic survival horror title Resident Evil 2 on the N64, a truly impressive feat for the console's cartridge format. This page is the contents, showing off big hitters like Toy Story 2, the much-anticipated Banjo-Tooie, Vigilante 8, Second Offense, Nuclear Strike, and a guide for the excellent Resident Evil 2. This page dives into Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, a prequel to the first N64 Castlevania game. Set 8 years earlier, it introduces Cornell, a man with lycanthropy on a quest to save his sister. The game revisits familiar locations from the previous title, but also includes entirely new areas, such as an opening sequence on a rotting galleon. The text describes traps and monsters players will encounter. There's also a small section referencing the intro sequence, and its similarity to the Blair Witch Project, and Evil Dead 2. Screenshots showcase various characters, enemies like a knight and a wolfman, and gameplay scenes including combat and environment exploration, like the ship interior and outdoor areas. The publisher is listed as Konami, with a UK release slated for February. This page continues the look at Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, expanding on Cornell the werewolf's abilities, specifically his transformation via red gems and immunity to vampire bites. It mentions encountering various foes like Gorgo the Kraken, and familiar faces from the previous game, noting Reinhardt and Carrie also reappear. The preview highlights the addition of a hires mode for expansion pack owners, promising crisper visuals but questioning its impact on the frame rate, leaving the full verdict for the next issue. Screenshots show Cornell battling different creatures and navigating environments. The right side features a large advert for South Park Rally, a racing game featuring the show's characters and various vehicles, available on N64, PC, Dreamcast, and PlayStation. This page jumps straight into a big preview for Banjo-Tooie, the sequel everyone was waiting for after Banjo-Kazooie. It covers the anticipation after Rare had been quiet for a while, confirming it's going to be a much larger game with features like interactive lighting, better camera options, and widescreen support, plus multiplayer modes. Key new elements highlighted include the ability for Banjo and Kazooie to separate, offering new gameplay mechanics and moves like Kazooie's wall run. Mumbo Jumbo is returning, and this time you can actually play as him, transforming the duo into various forms like a submarine or even a Trex in one screenshot. The preview mentions 8 huge new worlds, and hints at discovering secrets from the first game too. Screenshots show off some of the new areas, boss battles like the octopus, and various characters, including the new designs and transformations. It touches on the potential release window being around mid-2000, which as we know turned out to be spot on for the UK release later that year. Banjo-Tooie definitely delivered on being bigger, and adding a load of new ideas to the brilliant Banjo-Kazooie formula. This page dives into a preview for Blues Brothers 64. It's looking like Titus is bringing a 3D platformer to the N64, putting you in the shoes of Elwood Blues as he tries to get the band back together for a competition. The game features different environments like a prison, downtown Chicago, a graveyard, and a swamp. It's promising a mix of platforming, obstacle courses, and puzzles, with even learning new songs being part of the gameplay. They're also talking about multiplayer, including a 4-player adventure mode and something called Bust a Groove Funky Move Making. It was set for a UK release in spring 2000. This page features a preview of Tenji Hyperbike from Kemco. It talks about the game offering various types of racing, including sleek street bikes and dirt bikes, along with freestyle tracks for stunts. The preview shows screenshots of different environments, like deserts and street circuits, and also pictures of some of the bikes you can choose, even a scooter. It mentions different race locations and modes. The game was due for a UK release around Easter 2000. Alongside this is an advert for Turok, Rage Wars, highlighting its multiplayer combat with screenshots of the action. It was an acclaimed title. Following Christmas 1999, the N64 enjoyed strong sales, temporarily outpacing the Dreamcast, fueled by titles like Donkey Kong 64 and Super Smash Bros. The article anticipates continued success in 2000, with games like Resident Evil 2 and Perfect Dark. Legal battles won by Nintendo against copier devices are also mentioned. Warranting the expected 2000 lineup included Ridge Racer 64, Perfect Dark, and Mario Party 2. Controversy arose surrounding a character in Toy Story 2, leading to game reprogramming. Nintendo offered an expansion pack trade-in program. Mortal Kombat Special Forces was cancelled. Perfect Dark's April launch was confirmed, requiring the expansion pack. THQ continued supporting the N64 with planned titles. Konami delayed ISS Millennium. Finally, a Zelda game was confirmed for Nintendo's next console, the Dolphin, though its release was years away. This page lays out the release schedule for N64 games, listing what's expected in the coming months alongside a look at accessories and the current top games. There are a few screenshots dotted about showing titles like Battlezone, Ridge Racer 64, and Perfect Dark, which were all games we were looking forward to back then. The Gizmos and Gadgets section checks out a third-party controller, the 6T4 pad. It seems like a bit of a mixed bag, with some standard features, but apparently, the analog stick feels a bit off, doing some sort of weird mouse impression. It does have a decent D-pad though, which is handy for fighting games if any good ones ever turned up. It gets a rating of NNNN. There's also a competition offering the chance to win some Gex-themed snowboards, tied into the character and his games. The page finishes up with the regular game charts section, showing the top 10 selling N64 games for the month, listing who published them and the magazine's scores. Donkey Kong 64 and WWF WrestleMania 2000 are right up there at the top, which doesn't surprise me. There's also a competition to predict the next month's chart winners. And finally, an advert for that Dreamcast magazine just to remind us there was another console out there. This page is dedicated to the letters from readers, covering various topics about the N64 scene. There are complaints about how television programs and retailers seem to ignore the N64, preferring PlayStation or just not stocking many N64 titles like Castlevania or Silicon Valley. Another letter discusses the price of games, arguing that N64 games are more expensive due to cartridges costing more to produce than screndroms, referencing games like GoldenEye compared to PlayStation titles like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil 2. Readers also ask about why there aren't any light gun games on the system and the upcoming Dolphin console, weighing it up against the PlayStation 2, and discussing the constant delays for games like Perfect Dark, which is shown in a screenshot. There's also a letter from someone who thinks Banjo-Kazooie is better than Mario. Pokemon features too, with a reader asking about Pikachu's popularity and when Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Snap would finally be released on N64, mentioning the delays. Pictures of Pikachu, Squirtle, and Charmander are shown alongside this. The star prize is highlighted, showing the VRF-1 steering wheel kit that the winner received. This magazine page provides a comprehensive review section for N64 games. It focuses on Vigilante 8, Second Offense, showcasing its vehicular combat. The page outlines the review system, including info boxes for quick facts, pros/cons, in the $64,000 question, memory options, and PAL performance notes. The rating system is detailed, explaining the controller icon ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge. The final score is percentage-based, with a gold award for 95% plus, and the world of crap for scores below 29%. Sections on controller buttons, game alternatives, and soundbite summaries are also included. Other games reviewed include Toy Story 2, Top Gear Rally 2, Nuclear Strike 64, NBA Live 2000, Bassmasters 2000, Asteroids Hyper 64, and EPGA Golf, with a UK update on A Bug's Life. This page presents a deep dive into the chaotic world of Vigilante 8, Second Offense. As the headline proclaims, it's hailed as a brilliant excuse for a car wreck, building on the demolition derby foundation of the first game. The review highlights the sheer joy of the game, packed with weapons, various vehicles, and plenty of destruction. It notes that the sequel ramps things up considerably, introducing new vehicle abilities like hovering, skiing, and floating, along with a host of new tracks, 10 extra characters, upgrades, and missions to keep the action fresh. The storyline gets a mention, described as somewhat outlandish but serving its purpose by throwing you into a time-traveling conflict across different eras, featuring factions like the heroic Vigilantes, the futuristic Drifters, and the villainous Coyotes led by Slick Clyde in his quest for oil dominance. Specific vehicles are showcased, including the unusual Evil Knievel stunt cycle with a sidecar. The screenshots give a great feel for the game's diverse environments and the vehicular mayhem you can unleash, showing everything from wrecked police cars and buses to a floating car navigating water and action near a space shuttle. It's developed by Luxaflux and published by Activision, arriving as part of the strong N64 library in 2000. It confirms Rumble Pack support for that added feedback, though the game doesn't utilize the memory pack, relying instead on the controller pack to save your progress and unlock hidden characters. A cracking bit of vehicular combat, this one. The next page continues the deep dive into Vigilante 8, Second Offense, highlighting what makes it stand out. It goes into detail about the new vehicle power-ups, which are a cracking addition. You've got tokens that swap your wheels for hoverjets, snow skis for icy terrain, or propellers to zip across water, really opening up the levels and letting you explore previously unreachable areas. The review also touches on the upgrade system, called Burning Hulks, where destroying opponent vehicles lets you gather parts to improve your car's stats. Maxing out an attribute completely changes your vehicle's appearance, even turning Garbage Man's truck into a futuristic hovercraft. Character-specific special weapons are mentioned again, adding variety to the destruction. The $64,000 question summary box gives the lowdown: non-stop action, good music, plenty of cars and tracks, excellent visuals, and 4-player fun are the pros, with the single-player being perhaps a bit too easy. The screenshots show off the game's diverse environments and highlight the new vehicle abilities in action, like cars flying and using the snow skis. There's also some character art featured. It's clear this sequel packed in loads of new features to build on the original. The next page carries on with the Vigilante 8, Second Offense review, breaking down the controls and listing alternative car combat games like the first Vigilante 8 and Destruction Derby. It gives detailed ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an impressive overall score of 93%. The multiplayer, dubbed 4-way destruction, is highlighted as the most fun, especially the 4-player mode, comparing it favorably to the chows of Mario Kart. The hit and run mode, essentially survival, is touched upon, and a second opinion confirms the game keeps the original's strong points, while improving the visuals and overall playability, even suggesting it's leagues better than Carmageddon. The article notes the shift towards mission objectives in single-player, although the core vehicle destruction is still key, acknowledging that while the single-player replay value might dip after completion, the multiplayer madness more than makes up for it. Screenshots show off diverse environments and a detailed vehicle model. On the right side of the page is a large advert for a Cheats Unlimited phone service, offering tips and guides for a vast range of games across multiple consoles including the N64. Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue is a surprisingly good game based on the Disney film. Players complete challenges to earn Pizza Planet tokens, unlocking new areas. The game offers a decent challenge, especially when trying to find all the tokens. While graphics are plain, the sound design shines with faithful recreations of film effects and character voices. Controls offer a first-person view, but can be hindered by tricky jumps and camera angles. The game includes boss battles, like the Red Baron and Slimer, though the final boss, Zurg, is too easy. It successfully captures the film's spirit, with numerous references and varied challenges, making it a solid platformer for fans of the movie. This page continues the look at Toy Story 2, showing off more of the game's levels and mechanics. You see Buzz climbing and using his spinning attack, and even a glimpse of Woody. There's a section detailing how visiting Mr. Potato Head lets you earn batteries to get upgrades like rocket boots, essential for progression. The review touches on the camera, which can be a bit tricky at times, but highlights Buzz's moves like climbing and a temporary flying boost. It mentions the game has 15 levels, including boss fights, and touches on specific challenges like an RC race. The page wraps up with a second opinion, ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an overall score of 82%, describing it as a great little adventure platformer. Alternatives, like A Bug's Life and Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, are also listed. Nuclear Strike 64 is a Nintendo 64 conversion of a PlayStation game. Players pilot an Apache gunship and other vehicles in isometric missions to stop ex-CIA agent Colonel Lemond from using a nuclear warhead in Southeast Asia. Gameplay involves objective-based missions within specific areas, solid controls, and a focus on action and destruction. Missions include destroying oil rigs, rescuing agents, and tactical troop direction. The game features varied missions, controllable aircraft, and no technical graphical issues. It requires the expansion pack, supports the rumble pack, and saves progress with the controller pack. While praised for its action, it is noted for being dated with limited replay value. The game supports 14 players. The next page carries on with the Nuclear Strike 64 review. They go into the surprising difficulty, noting how tough it gets, especially completing objectives sequentially, and dealing with ammo scarcity. The second opinion weighs in, praising the graphics and handling but highlighting the limited view distance. The ratings break down graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, all scoring well, leading to a strong 83% overall. The soundbite sums it up as old-style action, with real impact. There are also a few more shots of the game's action sequences. This page features a review of NBA Live 2000. It highlights some of the game's new additions, particularly the one-on-one mode, where you can face off against Michael Jordan on a street court, complete with local fans. The review touches on the graphics, mentioning the facial animations which add a comical touch, and the standard basketball court visuals. Gameplay features like the camera options and easy controls are noted. The game's sound includes crowd noise and commentary, though the commentary can get repetitive. The review also points out that while the Jordan mode is a fun idea, it doesn't quite live up to the standard of a proper tournament and is best against another player. The overall rating given is a solid 78%. Several screenshots are included, showing both typical 5-on-5 gameplay and the street court one-on-one action with Jordan. It also briefly mentions alternatives and the control layout. This page is all about the Bassmasters 2000 review. It covers this fishing simulation game, highlighting that while some might find fishing games dull, this one aims to be an action-packed experience. The review details the gameplay, mentioning the chase for the fish can be exciting, the various options for lures, rods and boats, and the challenge of managing the tension on the line. It points out the game includes mini-games and a two-player mode. There are several screenshots showing the fishing action, catching a largemouth bass, boating, and underwater views. The controls are mapped out on an N64 controller diagram. Alternatives listed include In Fisherman Bass Hunter 64. The review gives separate ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an overall score of 84%. A second opinion notes, it's realistic, but the lack of fish can be disappointing. The soundbite sums it up as a good fishing game with plenty of options. Bassmasters 2000 was indeed released for the Nintendo 64 back then. Top Gear Rally 2, reminiscent of a Ford Escort, offers a mixed experience. The game features arcade and two-player tournament modes, but strangely lacks official car licenses, though some brand logos appear. Graphically, the cars are impressive, but environments are often bland and repetitive. Excellent effects like mud and water enhance the visuals. The game allows for car customization via sponsorships, and includes features like mid-race tire changes. It supports up to 4 players and utilizes expansion, rumble, and controller packs. Positives include improved graphics and handling, a 2-player tournament, and a random track generator. Negatives comprise the lack of official licenses, potentially limited arcade mode variety, uninspired courses, and less than ideal handling. TGR2 was released on the Nintendo 64. Bis. This page continues the look at Top Gear Rally 2 from the previous issue. It shows you the controller layout for the game, giving you the button mappings for steering, acceleration, brake, and gear shifting. The main part here is the review conclusion, giving the game's alternatives, broken down rating for graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge, an overall score, a second opinion, and a soundbite. The review highlights that the controls are easier to pick up than in the first game, but power slides are tricky. It suggests the game feels more like driving a family car at times, particularly criticizing the car damage system, which is described as random and catastrophic, sometimes making the game almost unplayable from just hitting a bump. Screenshots show the race action, including a car with a damaged rear tire. The game is rated on graphics, 4/5, audio, 4/5, gameplay, 3/5, and challenge, 4/5. The overall score comes in at 76%. The second opinion is particularly harsh, calling the game unplayable due to the random damage. The soundbite describes it as an average rally game which tries to amaze, but fails. The rest of the page is primarily taken up by extensive adverts for N64 games, accessories, and various merchandise like action figures, beanies, and clothing. The next page features a review of Asteroids Hyper 64. The main review expresses disappointment, feeling the game is a 64-bit version of something that should have been released much earlier, criticizing its repetitive gameplay and lack of depth, despite competent programming and controls. Screenshots show the game's space environment, asteroids, different ship designs, and menu screens. Sidebars include a 9-info box providing basic game details, a control layout diagram, and a $64,000 question, summarizing the game's pros and cons, noting it's acceptable for a few minutes but ultimately repetitive, and a gameplay dinosaur. A pane in the asteroid section reflects on the classic arcade original, and notes the N64 version's visuals are an improvement, but the gameplay feels outdated. The second opinion reinforces the negative view, calling it unplayable at times. The rating section shows scores for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an overall score of 42%. The soundbite calls it an acceptable version of a game that time forgot. This page dives into a review of European PGA Tour Golf. The main piece feels the game interrupts an extremely good walk with an average game, suggesting it's often frustrating despite golf's potential fun. It points out the putting system can be too easy, but suggests advanced mode offers more challenge. Screenshots show players swinging, views of the green, and interface elements like shot meters and wind speed. There's a breakdown of the controls on the N64 pad. A Know Your Golfer section mentions Colin Montgomery and a wicked golfer Will, who looks like Will Smith. The $64,000 question highlights pros like simple controls and customization, but cons like poor animation and only 4 courses. Alternatives lists Mario Golf and YLA Country Club. The second opinion finds the player animations amusingly bad and considers Mario Golf more playable. The rating section shows scores for different aspects, culminating in an overall score of 67%. The soundbite sums it up as a below average and fairly repetitive golf game. This review covers the N64 game A Bug's Life. Based on the popular Pixar film, the platform adventure game casts the player as Flick, tasked with saving his colony. Unlike the film's clever Flick, the game portrays him as a fighter. Gameplay involves seed planting to overcome obstacles. The review highlights screenshots of Flick battling enemies and navigating levels. The game supports the Rumble Pack and offers 3 save slots. Performance in the UK PAL version mirrored the US NTSC version. Compared to alternatives like Donkey Kong 64 and Rayman 2, A Bug's Life received an overall score of 59%. The review cited repetitive gameplay and a below-average experience. The game's execution felt janky, ultimately failing to capture the film's charm. This page is all about giving you the edge with Cheat Central, bringing together cheats and tips for a cracking lineup of N64 games. You've got weapon moves for Vigilante 8, Second Offense, unlockable characters and modes for Armorines, Project Swarm, Winback, and Road Rash 64, plus codes for invincibility and extra damage in Nuclear Strike 64, shown alongside some screenshots of the game. There are also password lists for Rainbow Six. This section is even sponsored by Explorer, the ultimate cheat cart. This page carries on with Cheat Central, offering more ways to get the most out of your N64 games. We've got all the freestyle tricks for Supercross 2000 listed out, along with a code to make all the riders invisible, shown next to some action shots. There are also cheats for roadsters, letting you race with huge monster truck wheels, boost the graphics, or even turn your car into a hovercraft, complete with screenshots showing them off. Plus, there's another section listing even more Explorer codes for various other N64 titles. This page is all about the score zone, where the keenest N64 players send in their best times and scores to claim bragging rights. It shows lists of top performances across games like GoldenEye 007, Star Fox 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Quake 64, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Beetle Adventure Racing, proving who's mastering these classics. There's also a push for scores on newer titles like Roadsters, Star Wars Episode I, Racer, and Jet Force Gemini, encouraging players to jump into those and show off their skills. Scattered throughout are screenshots from some of these games, highlighting the action. This page is all about the score zone again, showcasing the very best times and scores sent in by N64 fans across a massive range of games. We've got the fastest times for racing games like Micro Machines 64 Turbo, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart 64, Cruisin' USA, Wave Race 64, and Star Wars Episode I Racer. For sports titles, there are top scores for 1080-degree snowboarding, and action games feature heavily with Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Blast Corps, Turok, and Vigilante 8, all getting a look in. Puzzle fans aren't left out either with Tetrasphere, and there's a mention of the classic Mario 64, and platformers like Chameleon Twist and Stars, which is Space Station Silicon Valley, cracking game that. There's also the Score Zone Challenge focusing on training in Ready to Rumble, and a mention of the Ultimate Player Prize, which is a rather nice Logic 3 steering wheel setup that worked a treat with the N64. This page presents a playing guide for Resident Evil 2, a brilliant horror title that actually arrived on the N64. It's a detailed walkthrough covering the start of the game for both Leon and Claire's scenarios, taking you through the early sections in the streets and the police station. The page features screenshots of infamous locations, like the gun shop, the subway, and corridors within the Raccoon City Police Department, along with artwork of protagonists Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, and some rather unpleasant-looking zombies and lickers. It's a practical guide to help players navigate the initial dangers. The next page continues the fantastic Resident Evil 2 playing guide, delving into the deeper sections of the Raccoon City Police Department and beyond. It covers Chapter 3, The Basement, providing specific walkthrough steps for both Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield as they navigate the dark corridors and sewers. There's also a section offering tips on how to tackle the rather nasty mutant chestburster boss. The page features artwork of Leon and Claire, along with screenshots showing tense moments like exploring the basement, encountering the chestburster, and navigating tricky puzzles. It's a solid guide to help players progress through this brilliant N64 title. This page continues the Resident Evil 2 playing guide, picking up with Chapter 4, The Laboratory. It details how to navigate the final areas for both Leon and Claire, including tackling tough enemies like William Birkin in his later forms, and getting past the rather large mutant alligator. The guide covers getting through the sewer sections and reaching the laboratory, including puzzles like the B.OW computer. It also jumps back to cover the initial parts of Scenario B and the very start of the game in Raccoon City streets and the police station, essentially providing steps for both scenarios. There are helpful screenshots showing key locations like the lab areas, the police station interior, and encounters with creatures like the lickers and the giant plant monster. Character art of Claire and a young Sherry are also included, alongside the gameplay screenshots. This page presents a detailed playing guide for Resident Evil 2, offering walkthrough steps for both Leon and Claire. It covers navigating the police station, basement areas, and parts of the sewers, highlighting critical items like the valve handle, red jewels, heart key, club key, and chest plugs needed to progress. The guide details encounters with various enemies, including lickers and dogs, mentions boss fights like the early form of William Birkin and the Tyrant in the library, and includes interactions with characters such as Ada, Sherry, and Ben. Multiple screenshots are featured, showing interiors of the police station, basement rooms, sewer areas, and character encounters, alongside character artwork of Leon, Claire, and a zombie. The next page carries on with that stonking Resident Evil 2 playing guide, picking up the action in the sewers and heading into the scary depths of the laboratory. It gives you the lowdown on getting through the lab, finding bits and bobs like the spark shot parts for Claire, and the fuses needed to get the power going. Both Leon and Claire's paths are covered, showing you how to tackle different puzzles and get past the nasty creatures waiting for you, like those quick lickers and bothersome spiders and plants. The guide then pushes towards the endgame, detailing the encounters with the Tyrant, including how Leon gets that famous rocket launcher assist, and the final showdown with William Birkin on the train. You get clear steps on how to survive these boss fights and make your escape. The page is packed with screenshots showing off the lab environments, the train carriage, and those tense boss battles, giving you a good look at what's ahead. Proper essential stuff if you wanted to finish this classic back in the day. This page switches gears entirely, moving on to WWF WrestleMania 2000. It's a proper playing guide that dives into the game's hidden secrets, detailing how to unlock extra characters and features. You get the lowdown on how to get wrestlers like Stephanie McMahon, Paul Bearer, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and even the commentators Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. There's also info on unlocking Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin's smoking skull belt. The page includes a section dedicated to showing off Jeff Hardy's moves, complete with screenshots of him in action, giving you a good look at the grapple and strike options available in the game. Essential reading if you wanted to uncover everything this wrestling gem had to offer. This page carries on with the WWF WrestleMania 2000 playing guide, delving into the crucial matter of knowing your wrestler's arsenal. It lays out the complete movesets for 4 more chaps: Matt Hardy, Hardcore Holly, Al Snow, and Droz. For each wrestler, you get the full rundown of their standing attacks, front and rear grapples, moves when the opponent is on the mat, and specific actions like running at opponent or on turnbuckle maneuvers. There are also screenshots dotted about showing some of the moves in action, giving you a visual on what to expect. Essential knowledge if you wanted to master these particular lads in the ring back in the day. This page continues the comprehensive playing guide for WWF WrestleMania 2000. It details the move lists for 4 more wrestlers: Prince Albert, Thrasher, Steve Blackman, and Chaz. For each one, it breaks down their attacks and grapples from various positions: standing, front and rear grapples, when an opponent is down, running moves, and actions off the turnbuckle. It also highlights their special moves. There are screenshots showing some of these moves in action, giving you a look at what to expect when playing as these chaps. Knowing these moves was key to dominating the ring with these particular wrestlers. This page continues the essential playing guide for WWF WrestleMania 2000, diving into the movesets for Midian, the Blue Meanie, Viscera, and Meat. It lays out their attacks and grapples from every position you'd find yourself in the ring, giving you the lowdown on their standing moves, ground attacks, turnbuckle assaults, and even their defensive options. There are some cracking screenshots dotted around showing off a few signature maneuvers for each chap. Knowing these guides back to front was paramount if you wanted to master everyone on the roster in this game. This page continues the WWF WrestleMania 2000 playing guide, this time covering the movesets for Too Sexy Brian Christopher, Chyna, Scott Too Hot Taylor, and Debra. It details their various attacks and grapples, from standing, on the ground, and against the turnbuckle. Each wrestler gets a breakdown of their options, including their strong and special moves, with several screenshots showing off some key maneuvers for each performer. These guides were absolutely vital for anyone looking to master the extensive roster in this cracking wrestling title. This page continues the comprehensive WWF WrestleMania 2000 playing guide, shifting focus to some of the female wrestlers on the roster. Here you'll find the complete move lists for Jacqueline, Tori, Terry Runnels, and Ivory. It breaks down their attacks and grapples from various positions, including standing, on the mat, and against the turnbuckle, listing off their weak, strong, and special techniques. Each character gets their own section with screenshots illustrating key moves, essential for mastering the full capabilities of these ladies in the ring. These guides were invaluable for getting the most out of this superb wrestling title. This page continues the comprehensive playing guide for WWF WrestleMania 2000. Following on from the ladies, we now get the essential movesets for Pat Patterson, Michael Hayes, Gerald Briscoe, and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. It lays out all their attacks and grapples depending on the situation in the ring, from standing strikes and throws to moves on the mat, against the turnbuckle, or while running. You get the breakdown of their weak, strong, and special techniques, with handy screenshots for each wrestler demonstrating some key moments or positions. Essential stuff for anyone wanting to dominate with these legends in the brilliant game. This page continues the extensive WWF WrestleMania 2000 playing guide. We're looking at the crucial movesets for Jerry the King Lawler, Stephanie McMahon, Jim Ross, and Paul Bearer. Just like the others, it details their standing attacks, grapples, moves when the opponent is on the mat or in the turnbuckle, running moves, and their special techniques, all broken down by weak and strong variations. Each character gets a few screenshots, showing off some of their actions or poses in the ring. Absolutely essential information for mastering these managers and commentators in the game. This page continues the WWF WrestleMania 2000 playing guide, this time focusing on 2 absolute legends, Cactus Jack and Dude Love. It runs through their complete movesets covering all the key situations like standing, grappling, on the mat, and in the turnbuckle, highlighting both their standard and special moves. You get a few screenshots for each character showing them in action in the ring, detailing everything you need to know to dominate with these personas. This page is a cracking advert for strategy guides and solutions books, covering some absolute belters on the N64 from Paragon Publishing, offering discount deals. You can get guides for Turok 2, Banjo-Kazooie, Zelda 64, Lilat Wars, that's Star Fox 64 obviously, GoldenEye, Donkey Kong 64, and various volumes of As Secrets, including a special Nintendo 64 Gold compilation. There's a great offer to buy any 3 for a tenner, plus a deal on the Gold Guide which comes with a free memory card. They give you all the details to order via mail or their hotline. This page is the 64 magazine subscription offer, featuring a £64 mega deal for 12 issues including a free game from a selection featuring belters like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie, or a strategy guide. You can also order from a list of back issues displayed on the page. The Nindex is a comprehensive guide to all N64 games reviewed by the magazine. It provides a quick overview of numerous titles, including key information like player count, controller compatibility, and UK release status. The guide utilizes a scoring system, where games earning 90% or higher are recommended, sizzlers, and those achieving 95% or more receive a gold medal. The main list presents games from 1080 degrees snowboarding to FIFA, Road to World Cup, 98, including developer, stats, review issue, score, and brief comments. This allows for easy game comparison. The guide also features a top 10 list showcasing the highest rated games, such as GoldenEye and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, along with other standout titles across various genres. The guide is illustrated with images and has a light-hearted tone. The next page continues the Nindex listing more Nintendo 64 games alphabetically. It also features top lists for various genres, including shoot-'em-ups, fighting games, adventure games, and platform games, highlighting the highest-rated titles in each category, like GoldenEye and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. There's a Test of Time section revisiting classic reviews for Quake 2, Revolt, and Shadowman to see how they hold up years later. Finally, Best of the Bits recommends essential N64 peripherals, such as the standard controller, racing wheels, and memory cards to enhance the gaming experience. This page continues the extensive Nindex list, covering a huge range of N64 titles alphabetically with scores and comments, giving a greater overview of the console's library at this point. It also features top 5 lists for different genres. We've got the best racing games, highlighting titles like F-Zero X and Micro Machines Turbo 64. There's a look at the top sports games, featuring the highly rated ISS titles and FIFA 99. The best party and puzzle games are here too, with Bust-A-Move leading the charge. And, naturally, the page calls out the worst offenders in the bad games list, including the infamous Superman 64. Rounding things off is the 64 Mag's Most Wanted section, anticipating some big upcoming releases. Perfect Dark is still top of the list, a rare title everyone was desperate for. There's talk of the next Zelda, looking ahead to the GameCube era, but noting the wait after the masterpiece that was Ocarina of Time. Konami's final ISS game, ISS Millennium, gets a mention. Ridge Racer is noted as being delayed for us here in Europe for some baffling reason. And StarCraft, a cracking PC strategy game, is discussed as being delayed with no clear reason, which frustratingly, ended up not seeing a PAL release on 64 at all. It's interesting to see what everyone was looking forward to back then. This page gives us a look at the next issue, starring the review of Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness. Konami's sequel brings Dracula back for another blood-sucking adventure, and it's set to be a big one, marking the magazine's 3rd anniversary with issue 37. There are teasers for loads of other games coming up in the review section too, like ISS Millennium and Mario Party 2. It also includes all the contact details for the magazine in the Ninfo section. Plus, there's a big advert for special reserve offering deals on 64 games and kit. Finally, you've got the form to reserve your copy at the newsagent.